Once upon a time, in a lush green forest, there lived a young dragon named Ember. Ember was no ordinary dragon, he was supposed to breathe fire, just like all the other dragons in his family. But there was one problem, Ember couldn't. His flames were weak, little more than puffs of smoke, and his scales, which should have shimmered like molten gold, were dull and gray. The other dragons teased him. "You're not a real dragon," they said. "Real dragons roar and blaze." Ember felt lonely and ashamed. He spent most of his time hiding in the forest, far away from the towering volcanic mountains where the other dragons lived. One evening, as Ember wandered through the forest, he noticed something strange. A soft blue glow was coming from a clearing up ahead. Curious, he crept closer and saw a beautiful flower unlike anything he had ever seen. Its petals shimmered like starlight, and a gentle hum filled the air. Ember tilted his head. "What are you?" he whispered. The flower seemed to pulse in response, as if it were alive. Suddenly, a voice echoed in his mind. "Ember, you are not broken. You are simply different. To find your spark, you must seek the Crystal Cavern." Ember's heart raced. The Crystal Cavern? He had never heard of it, but the flower's words gave him hope. For the first time in his life, he felt brave enough to leave the forest and venture into the unknown. With a deep breath, Ember spread his wings and took off into the sky. The wind rushed past his ears as he flew over rolling hills and sparkling rivers. He didn't know where he was going, but he trusted the flower's guidance. As night fell, Ember grew tired and landed near a tall, gnarled tree. He was about to curl up and sleep when a deep voice called out, "Who goes there?" Startled, Ember looked up and saw a magnificent owl perched on a branch. Its golden feathers gleamed in the moonlight, and its eyes sparkled with wisdom. "I'm Ember," the dragon said. "I'm looking for the Crystal Cavern." The owl nodded slowly. "The Crystal Cavern is a place of great power, young dragon. But it is not easy to find. You must cross the Whispering Desert and climb the Singing Mountains. Only then will you reach the cavern." Ember thanked the owl and continued his journey. Soon, he reached the Whispering Desert. The sand shimmered under the starlight, and the wind carried faint whispers that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. As Ember trudged through the dunes, the whispers grew louder. "You'll never make it," they said. "You're too weak." Ember's heart sank, but he remembered the flower's words. "I am not broken," he whispered to himself. "I am simply different." With renewed determination, Ember pressed on, and the whispers faded away. After days of travel, Ember reached the Singing Mountains. The peaks were so high they seemed to touch the sky, and a soft, melodic hum filled the air. As Ember began to climb, the rocks beneath his claws vibrated with the sound. The melody grew louder, filling him with energy and courage. He climbed higher and higher, until finally, he reached the top. At the summit of the Singing Mountains, Ember found the entrance to the Crystal Cavern. Inside, the walls were lined with towering crystals that pulsed with light. The air was warm and filled with a sense of magic. Ember stepped inside, and the crystals began to hum in harmony. A voice echoed through the cavern. "Ember, you have proven your courage and determination. Now, it is time to find your true spark." As the voice spoke, the crystals glowed brighter, and Ember felt a warmth spread through his body. His dull scales began to shimmer, turning a brilliant gold. He opened his mouth, and for the first time, a bright, powerful flame burst forth. Ember's heart swelled with joy. He had found his spark. With his newfound power, Ember flew back to the forest. As he soared through the sky, his golden scales sparkled in the sunlight. When he landed in the clearing, the blue flower pulsed with light, as if to welcome him home. Word of Ember's transformation spread quickly, and soon, the other dragons came to see him. They were amazed by his golden scales and powerful flames. "We were wrong about you, Ember," they said. "You are a true dragon, and we're proud to call you one of us." Ember smiled. He had finally found his place in the world, and he knew that being different was what made him special. From that day on, Ember lived happily, sharing his spark with everyone he met. And the forest, once quiet, was filled with the warmth and light of a dragon who had found his true self.